Thanks. All right. My name's Rand Lewis. I'm a managing director with deVay Capital out of Boulder, Colorado. And Mark and I have known each other for a long time. He invited me to come, and I'm pleased to be here. We invest in private technology companies. Wireless is a subset of what we do. And I'll highlight Cloud Sherpas, which is one of our Atlanta-based businesses. It's really in the cloud, has nothing to do with wireless. And then most of the time, I'll spend talking about Zayo, which has a fiber network here in the Atlanta metro area and fiber networks throughout the United States and in Europe. And they were nice enough to give me a few slides here. So let's talk a little bit about the network that enables the applications that we've just chatted about. There's way too much data on this slide. It's data from Cisco. It shows kind of the exabytes per month in the US data network. And I guess all you really need to take away here is how rapidly it's growing. You see a 78% CAGR projected and actual between 11 and 16. Over here to the right, it's very difficult to see what's driving it, but video is a very large portion of what they project will drive traffic on the network. My son's got his new iPhone, and he's got a 2 gigabyte limit with our friends at Verizon, and we've had a little chat about how that works and what the difference between being on Wi-Fi and LTE is. So how will mobile networks keep pace with the demand? There's sort of three things that they can do. One is the government can allocate more spectrum, either licensed or unlicensed. We can increase the spectrum efficiency of the mobile infrastructure, or we can increase cell site density. And we'll talk a little bit more about those. So spectrum efficiency has definitely improved over time. These are different technologies that have been in place for many years, starting with GPRS and ending with LTE, and you see how the number of bits that can be carried on a single hertz of spectrum has increased. I guess the only thing I'd point out, I don't really have the timeline here, but GPRS versus LTE, that's got to be 15 or 20 years of time, right? And that is not growing at the same rate as the data on the networks is growing. So we were seed investors in a business called Crowne Castle, which owns towers around the US and around the world, and their original architecture support was to buy these high site towers from the carriers and then to build others. And what we found is that this traditional architecture based on high site towers does a reasonable job for devices that are close to the tower. It doesn't do a great job for devices that are inside buildings. It does an okay job for devices that are moving rapidly, and it doesn't do a good job in high density areas, as is depicted here by the stadium. And so what's happening there are large evolution in sort of splitting up the network into smaller cell sites. So indoor DAS, outdoor small cells, outdoor DAS, which is distributed antenna systems, are complementing high site or traditional sort of towers. And this is an area that we have played in now for probably the last 10 years in investing in, I guess, take a step back. We're not smart enough to tell which applications are going to win, but no matter which application wins, the network will require more coverage. So just at a high level, macro cell sites cover 2 to 10 miles, 50 to 300 megabytes. And we go down to micro, pico, and femto cells, which are inside your house. So hopefully these are concepts that are familiar to you. And we've really seen growth in the last 2 or 3 years as the carriers have, I would say, finally adopted some of these smaller cell technologies, and they're just starting to adopt them. Last data point that I'll show you is around macro cell backhaul. So there's a need, and Zayo likes to play in this space, to connect the network with fiber. Eric Enzor's here. We backed him in a business in the late 90s, and the thesis of that business was to build fiber to towers. The problem was we were about 8 or 9 years early, right, Eric? I mean, maybe a full decade. Zayo is an investment that we made in 2007. Zayo got the timing right here. because of the sort of the technologies and that you know, of the frequency, the applications, the smartphones, all the things that we've chatted about before, finally drove the need for fiber to interconnect this. And Zayo has made a great business over the last 7 years in interconnecting the network. Last data point here just sort of shows the backhaul bandwidth per cell site. You'll see, you know, 12 megabytes per second, you know, out of a cell site in 2008. Looking at 300 in 2016, 200 this year. I mean, it's the astronomical sort of growth that we've seen in just the last couple of years. And if, you know, back in the day, Eric, you remember this, it was about, do you need 2, 3, or 4 T1s per site? You know, a copper-based T1 is not serving this need very well anymore. So let me turn it over.